we have almost allowed ourselves to get in a place where, as a country, we no longer even ask how much things cost anymore for anything at all, much less a heart surgery, even just a minor visit for a doctor. You could go in for a small little visit for any ailment at all, and you could ask them, how much does this visit cost? And most of the time they can't tell you, because, Corey, if you went and then I went the same day for the exact same thing, it could be totally different pricing based on how our insurance company negotiated or whatever it may be. So we have to bring price visibility back to which we can. Obviously, there's some procedures like a heart transplant you may not, but you should be able to have some ranges. If you had a problem with your car insurance, you didn't like them, and what would you do? You get another one, right? You can't really do that with health insurance. If you have one with a company that you work with and you go to your HR person and go, I don't like my health insurance company, it's kind of hard because the employer is more in control, not the patient. So it's just a little bit about how do we get more competition with insurance providers and then hospitals as well. Most hospitals have bought in most of the doctors' offices in the last 20, 30 years. So most doctors now, 75% of doctors in America work for hospitals. So now just the patient advocacy is not quite the same. I think, first of all, we just start with the energy that we have in production today. Right now we are importing energy. We're not near as efficient as we could or should be. We need to be using renewable energy sources, fossil fuels as well, at a higher capability. I think we're cleaner than most other countries throughout the world. And so if we do not maximize it and be as efficient in it, we're actually trusting Iran and Russia and other people to do it better than we do. And we all know that they don't. So, at the end of the day, consumers are going to buy that which is cheapest. And so when we ever have to recognize what we're doing, there's a cost benefit analysis to it. And at the end of the day, consumers are going to buy whatever most cheapest. And so we have to really be able to do it in more efficient, cleanest manner as we can. Yeah, well, right now, I really believe that we need to make adoption more affordable and easier for people to adopt today. Right now, it costs a lot of money. I have friends of mine that adopted, and then we adopted our fifth child, and so we have 5 kids. But it can cost 15 to 25,000 or more to adopt a child today. And right now, there's a lot of people waiting to adopt newborns, but there's not as many people waiting to adopt people in the foster care system, the children in the foster care system. And so many of them age out as they get older in life. And I really think that if we want to change the culture of life in our country, which is what I want to do, is we should start right here at home and start adopting the children that are right here in our country. And so there's tens of thousands of kids that are waiting to be adopted every year, and we need to provide them a home. Well, right now we've got a huge border crisis. And so not only is there a lot of illegal immigrants coming across that we don't know who they are, we've already have 15 to 20 million that are living here in the United States today. And in fact, we don't even know how many. And a lot of them are working good paying jobs and hard paying jobs that many people are not in line to take right now. I tell people I have a merchant acquisition company. We're in business as well, so we've got a lot of things going on in business. But I also am a big investor in restaurants in Dallas. We have a couple restaurants, Dave's Hot Chicken restaurants. But we hire people $13.50 an hour to just run the cashier. But we often have a help wanted sign out, meaning there's not a lot of people that are willing to even come to work right now in that kind of job. Much less for some of the jobs that are coming across. For hard labor jobs, construction jobs, service-oriented positions, and many of the migrant workers are filling those in farms all over the world, in our country. And so I feel like that we got a lot of people that are hardworking. If there's people that need to go home because of committed crimes, we need to send them home. But I feel like we need to figure out a comprehensive plan to the border problem. So the Republicans want to secure the border. Many of the Democrats, when they want some sort of worker registration or plan of success for the migrant workers that are here, and I actually feel like we can do both. I think we're talking about some things that they're not talking about today. Neither Trump nor DeSantis are talking about a balanced budget. In fact, Trump's got us in trouble in a lot of ways financially. In fact, we went $7.5 trillion in debt during his 4 years. And so this is not a pathway of success for our country. The other is both of them are great leaders in some ways, but many times they lead by a philosophy of division. And so when you look at the mantra that they have, they're just kind of out there to destroy the left, so to speak. And my philosophy is totally different. 49% of America today identifies themselves as independents, meaning only about less than 25% identify as Republicans, and that is about the same as Democrats. Meaning there's a whole group of people out there that we have to think about why we're not against them, but who we for. and what is the message that we're going to do to unite our country. And that's what I want to do. So I want to connect with all Americans about what does it mean to be American? What are we going to do? What kind of sacrifices are we going to make to get our country back on track? Because things matter, not just with the financial system, because if we don't fix that, we can be in big trouble, but also with healthcare, but also with education. Education is a big problem in our country. We're not even in the top 25 in education across the developed countries in the world. In urban America right now, about 15% of minorities in urban schools are reading at the 8th grade reading level when they're in 8th grade. And so we've got a problem, we have a challenge, but what are we gonna do about it? And so we're not gonna get there by dividing our country. I'm actually calling on young people today. I want to start a movement, really, kind of like the Peace Corps in the 60s and 70s. I don't know if you remember studying about that, but it's really popular then. I actually want to start like a service and volunteering movement among young people. A lot of young people today, they want to believe in something. They want to believe in a cause. And right now, I feel like education is the biggest opportunity. Most kids, if they struggle, if they don't get past the 8th grade at the right reading levels, they will not make it through high school. Only about 65% of kids in a lot of major metropolitan areas and urban areas that are minorities are graduating from high school. 68% in some tough areas like Chicago or Dallas and certain tough school districts. And so we've got to raise that up. We have to focus on our kids. So I'm asking young people, if you want to change the world, change one life. Let's volunteer 5 hours a week and start mentoring a child. Help a 1st grader, 5th grader get their reading levels and math levels up, and we can change America. And that's what I want to do. Well, I think you've got to show them that our current path that we're on has consequences to it. So Abraham Lincoln said it this way. He actually quoted Jesus in the Bible when he said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." We have to remember that we are one nation. We are the United States of America. And so, but the word division is the number one word that describes the culture of our country today. So everybody feels this pulling away. It's like this big tug of war in our culture war. And first of all, you have to have a leader that wants to address the issue. You have to have a president that wants to say, you know what? I see good in people that believe differently than me, and I don't have to agree with them on every single point to believe that there's good in them and that we can accomplish some big problems together. The problem that we're having with our border, the problem we're having with healthcare, the problem we're having with our budget, these are not Republican or Democratic issues. These are American issues. And if we can solve these together, some of the things we disagree on can become less important and the biggest issues of our life. But why don't we focus on the biggest things that are hurting us all and start there? So I want to be a president that leads to the topic, because we can't keep doing what we're doing, and then actually just give us a couple things that we can work on together. And I think when we do that, we'll be on our way. They haven't seen enough authenticity in our leaders. Even today, there's a lot of distrust that America has, not just with media, because we see the bias that's out there on both sides of the press. So it doesn't matter whether you're kind of right-leaning press or you're left-leaning press, there's bias that's out there. And so a lot of people look at the press today and they lack trust. Well, it's going to take that going back and forth on both ways, and I'm certainly willing to give media every ample opportunity from my end to just state what I know and be as truthful and give everybody the respect they deserve. We've got a budget that is out of control, so it's ballooning out of debt. We have Social Security that's already broken. So Social Security is going to be losing its funding in about 15 years. If we don't change something significantly financially, healthcare is eating away our economy. Medicare and Medicaid is 30% of our expenses that's going out the door. Social Security recipients are spending 15% of all the income they have on healthcare, so it's eating away our economy. So us working hard to break down the laws that prevent competition, because there's some laws we have that prevent competition of healthcare exchanges to compete across state lines. Everything that we do to bring competition into the play for healthcare is going to improve costs for all of us and get our budget in line. Us tackling our debt, just like you and I would, or this business would, any household would, or company would, or church would, or state would, we've got a big debt, and we can't afford to keep going what we're doing, because 8% of our budget goes out to pay interest. In the next 10 years, it could be 12 or 15% of our budget. We can't afford that. We could be spending as much on interest as we are on military or Medicare, so we can't do that. So we have to see this together, tackle the problem. If we have a debt, we actually have to pay it off. We haven't made a principal payment on the debt in 30 years. All we do is just keep adding to it. We're not even trying to whittle it down. So as a leader of the country, as president, I first want to balance the budget, get that in line, start paying it off, get healthcare lined up, fix our border problems, keep fentanyl from coming in our country. It's killing 200 to 300 young people a day. Drugs coming across our southern border. It's like an airplane dropping out of the sky every day, and we're just ignoring it because we have a political division, a paralysis now about what both parties want to do about the border. And it's going to take leadership, it's going to take good government and good legislation to fix it. And so that's what we need to do. $23 trillion is not a mirage. And when you say a mirage, it's not funded, and we're still paying interest on it. So it's money that comes in that we don't have. And the only way to get it is for us to have a monetary policy to counteract it that prints more money. And the problem with that is that it creates inflation. So what you saw with all this money that we printed during COVID and during the last, we printed 40% of our nation's money supply in the last several years. And now we've had kind of runaway inflation, and wages have not kept up with it. So if we keep on doing what we're doing, what we're going to do is we're going to have a fiat currency that really is not going to be really strong at all. In fact, that's what China wants to do right now. They want to ruin the U.S. dollar as being the world's reserve currency. And right now, so many countries are using it as they do trade across with other countries. They're using the U.S. dollar in trade. And if we don't protect our finances and protect our dollar, we're going to be in a lot of trouble economically. So we're going to have to fix that. We can't ignore it like it's not going to be there. And so it's going to take wisdom, it's going to take strength to do it. I really think it's going to take sacrifice to do it. Many Americans don't want to sacrifice anymore. I was in Iowa this past week for Memorial Day, and we had Senator Joni Ernst. She had a roast and ride, and we were honoring veterans. And I thought about this week that we are honoring people that really have sacrificed so much for our country, for the freedoms that you and I have. But if we don't fix this right, particularly my generation, if we don't fix this, we might be known as the generation that prospered the most but sacrificed the least. Like, what's been our sacrifice? If we can't put a budget in line for your generation, every generation that's coming after you to have a healthy budget, you're not going to be able to have financial independence. Most college students today have to get 3 or 4 roommates when they come out of college, or they go back to live with their parents. It hasn't always been that way. And the reason is because apartments are too high, new car payments are too high. All that is a result of this imaginary, if you want to call it, debt that we have. Printing money has a consequence to it.